and welcome to or welcome back to the Global Holistic Wellness Podcast. This is The Conversation Continues, and we thought what a great time of year to explore the concept of awe, the power of awe, why generating the feelings of awe are so important to our psyche, our mental health, our physiological health, and also how do we find awe in those ordinary day-to-day moments. Do, do, do. Okay. All right. So I love talking about this topic because this is as close to real magic, I think, as you can get when we start
Absolutely.
talking,
Yep.
right? Magic is real, and we're about to talk about it. So I want to start out, if it's okay, just saying a couple of neuroscientific benefits of
Perfect.
experiencing the state of awe and then defining awe a little bit for the purpose of the podcast. I know we just talked about this in one of our freebie workshops. So if you were there, thank you for attending, and this will be bonus rounds on that talk. And if you weren't there, what are you doing? Check out our website, join our newsletter. We're always giving awesome freebie workshops for you. Come and meet us and ask us questions. And the last workshop was on this topic, the power of awe. So, for me as a therapist, a clinical mental health therapist, taking the life coaching hat off for a second and getting kind of into the mode of therapist, I like to explore these feelings that have mental health benefits that we know through studying the brain, how it works. And awe is one of these feelings, these emotions that can help us with depression, can help us with anxiety, can help us in our existential crisis, if you will, can help us be a better person by wanting to help others. So for me, it's worth exploring anything that when we generate it, it gives us those feel good feelings. It also, we know, can help prevent cardiovascular disease. It can help lower the heart rate, activate the parasympathetic nervous system. So what is awe? Let's start there because sometimes when we talk about this, we realize that our language is relative, right? We're not all speaking the same language when we say awe. So for the purpose of this podcast today, I'll go ahead with my definition of awe, and then maybe you can add to it, is when we're standing in the presence of something that we don't understand, and our ego is temporarily parked, where we allow the thought that we don't understand it. And we are so moved because we feel so small that we, in that very moment, feel connected to more than ourselves. Right. And I think that's where some of the magic happens. So, do you want to add for your purpose today when we're talking about awe? Is there anything on top of that that you would like to add?
Yes, yes, and I love that. And finding the awe in everyday life in ordinary moments. So when we, let's say, look at a sunset, or we're looking at this beautiful ocean, or mountain views, and we are literally awestruck. And so there are some of these moments in our life that it's real easy to recognize those moments that take your breath away. What I wanted to talk about today is the micro moments that we might not be paying attention to. And the micro moments make up our life. Like the majority of our life is not the real big things that happen, but the everyday, moment by moment. And so, how do we start to shine a light on these micro moments? And just real quickly, what do I mean by that? And so, a micro moment would be perhaps when you wake up in the morning, that first smell and that first sip of your coffee, and you have that, that would be a micro
Say,
moment.
a sunrise and a sunset are micro moments. Like anything that happens day to day that takes our breath away, but it happens every day. Like that is being in the space of awe, and that is finding awe in the ordinary. And I think what happens in to your point about the coffee
Yeah,
phenomena
bringing
where
it down, from the
right?
less noticeable. Yeah,
Noticing it, right? So
noticing.
a lot of this conversation around awe is being in the moment, being mindful in that moment, and
Absolutely,
enjoying the sunrise and the
absolutely.
sunset and the golden leaf changes of the fall foliage.
Yeah, what I'm hoping to do is to take what somebody might think is ordinary, and how do we make it extraordinary? So when we find awe in the everyday, maybe things that we do kind of mindlessly, like that first cup of, that first sip of coffee in the morning. Maybe we're just
Or
taking
looking at the sunrise. Yeah.
and really kind of just starting to notice the things that maybe we didn't notice. I was reading someone else's list that they made of micro moments, and somebody had said, when they first hear the few notes of their favorite song on the radio and they go, or when somebody's holding an umbrella in a rainstorm and they're just like feeling that, because they're dry. So it's kind of shining that light on the ordinary. I had, years ago, this awareness from one of my teachers, Dr. Wayne Dyer, and he said that he was going to guess that he probably got his mail every day different than his neighbors. And I was very curious about that. So I'm listening. And he said, oh, when he walks to his mailbox to get his mail, he's in awe because he cannot believe that somehow, some way, these letters made it all the way to this little box in front of his house from all over the world.
I
And
thought you were going to say how much mail he got is inspiring. That takes my breath away. When I see how much mail I get every week, I'm like, where is it all coming from?
and he was just he was just finding the miraculous in what others might think were the mundane. And so, how can we start to recognize that it is a miracle to have mail delivered, or perhaps even getting email? I know we're bombarded with emails these days. However, it's still awesome that they're coming from all over the world.
Or checking turning the lights on, having heat, having running water. Like if you have a hard time finding awe around you, then put that curiosity cap back on, like tap back into that inner childhood, right? Because there's mind bending things happening around us all the time. Like one of my favorite things to do is every night look up at the night sky and just contemplate how small we are and how vast the universe is and how much we don't know about things like vortexes and black holes and gravity, right? And just really contemplate those bigger things. And I wanted to share a study of something that happened at UC Berkeley from the Greater Good Science Center on the concept of awe. And what they were trying to figure out is why awe, when we're in a state of awe, it lights up different parts of the brain, and it does make people feel more connected to others and more altruistic. And they were able to prove this with a variety of studies. And one of them was having people look into, there's this beautiful grove forest on the UC Berkeley campus. If you haven't been there before, actually the largest eucalyptus trees in Northern America are there in this grove. And they had people in the study look into the forest and just kind of sit there until they were experiencing the feeling of awe and wonder from how big the trees were. And then they had somebody walk by with a bag of pencils and drop the pencils on the ground. So they studied people who didn't do the 1 minute looking at the forest and people who did. And they found that the people who were able to get into a state of awe were much more likely to stop and help somebody pick up the pencils and pick up more pencils, getting into that state of altruism. And what we've realized through this work is that when we're in that state, like I said earlier today about defining awe, where we're able to put our ego down, part of it is being into a state of accepting how little we know and how small we are, and then feeling connected to other humans because we're all kind of in this together. And so we think our best guess is this was an evolutionary detail that we needed because we needed to help each other. So if we can get into a state of being in the moment and being in a state of realizing we don't know everything, right? This is a new element of the modern day era is thinking that we know everything. But when we sit down and really think about how much we don't know, like little things about, like, most of us aren't coders. Most of us don't really know how the internet is working or how electricity is working or how water, treatment centers work. There's so much going on every day that we take for granted. So being in that state of allowing yourself to be in the unknown and accept how little we do know makes us a better person. And also, I could go into the whole, we don't have time, studies on how this helps prevent conflict and how this helps people in conflict, and studying how we've studied people in conflict, and if we can get them to a state of awe, how the conflict goes away because we're in the part of our brain that's in wonder and creativity and acceptance is activated, and that ego shuts down. So it's less about talking and more about questioning, getting in that state of curiosity. Awe is a connection to a state of curiosity, which makes us better.
Thank you so much for sharing that because I love that study. And really, I think it drives home the point of what we're trying to offer here is this little coaching tip is life-changing without exaggeration. Just recognizing that without even being aware, the people who had connected to nature were kinder when it came to picking up the pencils. So when we can actually train our brain to really be grateful for the little things in life, we start to shift and we start to see the positive and we start to recognize our blessings. And so I just want to offer an exercise that is extremely helpful and it's fun. So, most of you are aware of having a gratitude journal where you're actually writing down things that you're grateful for. So similar to that, but a little bit different, is I invite you to start a micro moment journal. So
Mm.
it's the things that are in ordinary life, but when you just shine a light on it, it takes your breath away. There's a little, and so it could be, the smile from one of your children, or it could be, you could be in a restaurant and it might not even be your child. You might hear laughter in a booth near you of a child laughing, or maybe the table's laughing. And just for a moment you go, because it's a good feeling to hear laughter. I'd like you to write down, starting today, just maybe 3 or 4 micro moments. And maybe you're going to do that every day. How cool would it be at the end of the year to have a whole book of your micro moments?
Gratitude, mix it up. A couple of podcasts ago, we talked about gratitude journals. Have one journal and mix it up. Have gratitude one day, awe,
Micro
inspire.
moments another day. Yeah.
And
And
we get
really,
better at what we practice, right? And so little techniques like that, which I love that one too. It's something that I use with some of my clients in one of the exercises. And what I love about it is that over time, it retrains our brain to start looking for things to be grateful for or looking for things to be
that's
in
right.
awe of. It also helps us to be mindful. And we're going to do a podcast coming up on some more mindfulness moments and how to generate mindfulness. We both have a bunch of exercises we love to use with our clients to help bring that in. So we'd love to hear from you. What is something that took your breath away? What
What are
is
your micro
that?
moments?
Yeah, and let's, outside of micro moments, like the awe-inspiring moments, the moments that really do take your breath away, the sitting under the stars, seeing the aurora borealis, the Grand Canyon, the things that we take for granted. And we'd love to hear from you. So if you're listening to us on Spotify, you can email us at globalholisticcoaching@gmail.com. If you're listening to us on YouTube, go ahead and drop your comments in the drop box below. We love hearing from you guys. We get a lot of our content from the emails that we get, and we look forward to talking to you next time.
Hope you enjoyed today's podcast and you found it helpful. See you next time.